Yeah, sure will. Happy Friday, everyone. I am your co-host, Carlos Manriquez, and thanks everyone for making this. Hopefully lunch was good, and I had Mexican, so I'll get off screen pretty soon here. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us on our volume five of understanding the power and how to unlock the power of AI. We have a really cool session today. Thanks for everybody for coming on and registering. And please, don't forget to go on there and submit some survey questions and things like that. We use that for survey or shows to come. So that's pretty cool. So I'm Carlos Manriquez, owner and operator of GreaterThan. Nathan and I have been doing this for a long time, and then he got me on board of some AI things last year. So been hitting that hard, and we've been doing this and wanted to share our capabilities. Most of it could be redundant. We understand that, but we're trying to get it from a basic fundamental level for us to understand and to share. And we're going to start a YouTube page so we can share it that way too. So invite your friends and things like that. But we appreciate you guys coming. Little bit of just some house rules before we get into starting. If you guys want any questions that, while Nathan or Rafael, our guest, is speaking, just raise your hand and we'll just call attention to that. But otherwise, just put them in the chat. And then at the end, we've slotted some time for us to have a discussion so we can bring those up and kind of surface those back again. But before we start, we are putting this disclaimer out to say that, AI is still roughly new. I think we're in the midst of a year that ChatGPT came out. So all of this is just kind of trial and trying to figure things out, understanding, what each tool can do for each, part of the, things that you guys want to explore. But just to make sure that, make sure data is good, your brand consistency is good. I'm from a brand background, so double check your brand people and things like that before you hit the easy button here. So but it's fun and we're learning and we're seeing how we can apply this professionally. That's kind of why I'm here and why we wanted to get this started. But just use best practices, and if you don't know, there's probably somebody on your team or something like that that knows. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add, we added a kind of a section here to talk about kind of things that are happening because things are moving so quickly and we don't have time to always cover like in greater level some of the news announcements. And so we're going to be adding kind of a thing to talk about, what's new and what's happening. First thing is like the big announcement recently is Apple having conversations with Google, considering licensing Gemini. This is big. Everyone's been kind of wondering what is Apple doing behind the scenes? Are they creating their own AI? I think the fact of the matter is this is probably maybe means no. And but why rebuild something? Because at the end of the day, one of these guys is going to rise to the top anyway. And this could be a huge move and a big leap for Google, because imagine if every single iPhone had AI built into it, like to replace Siri. And I don't know if they'd rename Siri to Gemini. It'll be really interesting. Next year, we might be saying, "Hey, Gemini." I don't want to say, "Hey," the other word, or all our phones will start talking. So, but I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm very excited, where this could lead. And I want to get any kind of quick feedback from Carlos or you or Rafael right now about the thoughts on this.
I have thoughts for sure. Um, yeah, so Apple, I mean, these are two tech giants, right? That are respected and at odds with each other over maps, right? There's a history there. We all know, maybe to some degree or another, the history, kind of the feud between both of them.
Yep.
But the fact that Apple's looking at Gemini is very interesting.
Yeah.
And even if they don't go with Gemini, it makes me wonder because Siri was the forerunner, right? Playing some catch up. And if they do decide, whether or not they decide to go with Gemini, I think the messaging here is that they just don't have enough. They're just like behind enough to where they want to like accelerate the their AI initiatives to catch up. So it's either Gemini or some other company that they will probably buy to catch up.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
either way, it's exciting. Keeping it positive, this is really exciting
Yeah.
because I don't use Siri that much on my phone. I'm using GPT voice, which I'll kind of demo you for you guys here in a bit. But yeah,
It'll be
there's that.
interesting. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
I think the only thing really quickly is what gets me excited about all these tools that it's changing so fast and people are buying each other out, trying to explore or you name it. I think it's not a race to the bottom, but a race to the top to see what's going to float and what we're going to be using, in the future. But I heard in a seminar not too long ago, which was kind of fascinating, was we right now all the tools that we have, we're in the quote unquote dumbest part of AI. If I could say that now, like that doesn't make sense. But what was referring to is that the full capabilities, the unlocking of potential is we haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah.
And for big companies like this, mega companies to do this is it's pretty interesting and exciting to know how we can a lot more of what we do daily, professionally and personally. I use Pi every day and I talk to it. Kind of weird, but I'm just waiting for somebody to take that over to GTP and give it that seamless flow that I need, instead of just copy and pasting all the time. That I can say, hey, pull up this PDF or whatever.
So
Pretty cool.
I love that. I think the big thing, and I'll try to move on, but just trying to level set how big of a move this is. If it really replaces something like Siri, the understanding we've got to understand is like, Siri or like, even on Android phones, like, how people conversate. But Siri has a huge hook into the core of the device across our laptops and our phones. And that is something that these tools like AI GPTs right now do not have. If you notice, like you've got to open them up in another window or you've got to have some kind of plug-in, but it is not executing things for you. It is giving you information. You are then doing something with it. As the human, you are like the barrier between AI and something being done. And this is the first step that starts to break that barrier. And what I mean is right now I could, say something to Siri and say, add something to my calendar. GPT cannot do that yet for me, from an Apple standpoint. Or I want to send somebody a text message. It does not have access to all my contacts. And so that's a lot of access to give to an AI large language model. So starting to understand like where the security levels and what that really starts to change things, guys, is where it's very exciting. And like, will Apple move fast enough to get on this in 2024 with a software update later this summer or fall? That will be a huge jump, and it'll really start to make these tools way more convenient. Imagine it's coming back like right now, Siri will just add a thing to your calendar. Imagine it coming back and going, "Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan, you're pre-booked right here and here, but I see this other slot that's open later that day. Does that work for you?" I mean, that's the kind of stuff that which starts to be a game changer for where we can't even imagine like where this starts to break the wall, like what we're doing today and how we work. So I didn't mean to stay on that too long. AI, I want to jump over to AI washing. And again, I want to say, those of you who are watching live, feel free to jump comments, questions, or anything like that in the chat. I want you to be able to have the opportunity to jump in and add commentary, and I can bring you up the stage if you need to. I briefly wanted to mention this AI washing. What is that? It's just right now, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is really like trying to go after companies that are doing false and misleading claims around AI. AI is like the gold rush. It's the key phrase, and everybody's taking their software that's out there or their company and saying, "Oh, we're doing this. We have," but it's not the same level. And it's just, so they're really coming against and trying to make sure that there's transparency. So be on the lookout for stuff like that. It's just like the apps that are on the App Store right now. There's copycats out there, and it is not the same. So make sure that you guys see some of that. Great questions I see coming in from Andrew and Rafael. I know you can see some of those too. I might save a couple of those questions and let you hop onto those topics coming up. Speaking of, I want to introduce Rafael to stage. I'm gonna hit what topics he's gonna cover in a minute, but we're really excited to have him on board. He's got decades of background in technology and is doing a lot at Blueprint Technologies right now. And so we're really excited to kind of see like how he's using this in his day-to-day, which is different than how Carlos and I from a marketing standpoint. So very excited to see what he's going to be showing us today. And so I want to welcome him. Thanks for coming, Rafael. The areas that he's going to be covering today is GPT bot creation, data and graph analytics, discovering data-driven competitive advantages, and simplifying complex data into actionable insights. We will also have kind of a Q&A session at the end of this if there's any other questions, but I want to go ahead and pass it over to you, Rafael, and let you take it from here.
Awesome. First of all, I want to say thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Carlos, for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. I have my coffee. I hope you guys do too. It's not lunch hour for me, so I'm in kind of the central US, right? Colorado Springs time zone, mountain time. So but yeah, I appreciate being here. And just to kind of level set for everyone, this is meant to be interactive. And so the way I do these workshops is I'll kind of show and go through some things. And then what I might ask for you all is to have GPT 3 or 4 up, just have it ready to go. The bots that I'm showing are in GPT-4. So if you have GPT-4 bonus, great. That's even better. We're going to go into the marketplace and we're going to look at some things. Primarily the data analyst GPT bot is one that I use. And so my background is in big data. It's in cloud tech. And so I'm seeing firsthand how clients that we interact with are starting to use AI more and more. You don't have to be afraid of it, right? We're not at like people see a robot demo like you saw earlier. They're like, oh my gosh. Minds go to like Terminator and this and that. Like things are advancing rapidly. We know that we can use AI to like enhance emails. It can help you project management and can help you with pretty much day to day. And so one thing I will show you guys before I get into the demo is if you have an iPhone 15 with the action button, right? iPhone 15 with the action button. I want us to kind of go back to the demo where you saw like in its head, the robot's head, the chat that was happening, right? And so you can actually program is such a big word. People get intimidated by, oh man, you have to program a button. No. You have to go into the settings in your iPhone and set the action button to GPT audio. And that's how, like, it's a very practical use. I use it every day. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of run a quick demo with my phone. You can see that. So I hit the button and it's going to go straight to audio. You can see that. Hi, how are you doing today? My day is going well. So I have a question for you. Explain to me the fifth dimension as if I were a sixth grader.
Imagine you're playing a video game where you can move left, right, forward, and backward. That's like moving in 3 dimensions. Now, think about time as another way you can move, like going to yesterday or tomorrow. That's the 4th dimension. The 5th dimension is a bit trickier to imagine because we can't see it or move through it in our daily lives. But let's try with an idea. Imagine if there were many different worlds, each a little different from ours. Maybe in one world, dinosaurs.
All right, so you can kind of get a taste. I'm leaving you guys with the suspense of the fifth dimension, just kind of as a teaser out there. But you can have conversations all throughout the day. You don't have to type. And so I ask follow-up questions. I continue to kind of dive in, but I'm using audio. It's not programmed for Siri because Siri is not as like sophisticated. I can use Siri, right, with my kind of voice and activate that realm. of Siri if I needed to edit a calendar invite or start a new email, blah, blah, blah. But what I wanted to show you guys that you can actually start using the audio capabilities of GPT-4 today. And it can feel somewhat seamless. And Nathan's right, like it's not going to add a calendar event for you. It's not going to add email, things like that. So so yeah, anyways, so that's kind of a really practical use case. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to dive in. So have your GPT-4 up and yeah, welcome Debbie. I see you're in Denver. That's pretty cool. Thanks for jumping in here today. All right, so go to Denver all the time.
Do I
Fun
need to
place.
stop share to let you share or?
I'm trying it now, so let me see if I can, if it'll work. Should. All right, do you guys see that okay?
I think it's still sharing mine.
There you
Okay.
go.
Ah, there we go. All right, so kind of a little known GPT that was created by ChatGPT, go figure, right? But you can kind of see where they're going with this. Like if you lead a small business, maybe a medium-sized business, or even you're in a large organization that you lead, or maybe you're in the organization and you're like, man, I need to glean some analytics, some insights, right? Well, I would commend you to this bot right here. It's the data analyst bot. And it says here you can drop in any files and I can help analyze and visualize your data, which is pretty cool. So I use this a lot, right? And I can tell you like this is so easy to use. It's so seamless. Once you start like using it, my use case, my kind of almost daily use case for this is when I'm on X or Twitter, right? Formerly known as Twitter. And there's a claim out there where somebody says they make a claim and they try to back it up with a chart, right? And it makes, yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical of charts. I will say that, or stats, because I'm like, okay, if there's no source, then what's going on here? So let me just kind of share a couple of use cases with you all on this. So if you go to Explore GPTs, right, you can go in and you can just type data analyst. It's right here. You click that, and then you can start a chat in here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you guys a couple of chats that I was like, oh, let me just kind of start with a basic one. All right, so let me refresh because it's not coming up here. Hold on a second. Demo day fun. I saw this on X, World of Statistics. It's a group of, it's a kind of a channel that I follow, and so they're always posting statistics. I was particularly interested in this one. And so what you're seeing here is a screenshot from my phone. And so I'm just gonna just drop it into my phone and let's just kind of analyze this because look what it's saying here. It's saying, man, US is ranked second in total number of Spanish speakers, beating out Spain. Okay, that's a big claim, right? So I'm like, okay, all right, so this is the list that they provided on X. And I said, is this true? Right.
That's
I think
great.
it's great. I think it's great. It's a great stat. I'm a Spanish speaker. I'm bilingual. Carlos looks more Latino than I do, but I swear I can show you my birth certificate. A Spanish speaker. I'm Hispanic, but it says, it's very honest about its limitations. Hey, based on the last update in April 2023, blah blah blah. I'm not able to access retrieve real-time data. However, as of my last update in the US, did have a large Spanish-speaking population with a significant number of Spanish speakers due to its Hispanic and Latino population. And I said, what's the population of Mexico? I was just very basic, just kind of showing you guys a very basic example of where you can kind of keep the conversation going and you can dive deeper. So that is one of the examples here. And so what I want you to do is find a screenshot, a chart, any kind of chart out there, find one, drop it in to this data analyst bot, and just start asking some questions. All right, so start asking some questions. Here's another one that I found that was really interesting. So this gets a little bit deeper. I had a full-on conversation about this one. Look at this. All right, another screenshot. You can tell what time it was, blah, blah, blah. My battery life. I probably should have cropped that out. But anyways, all right, so this was another stat that was out there. I was like, whoa, what is this? This is the Bank of America, Bank of Japan's interest rate since 2006. This is the bank interest rate of the Bank of Japan. Look at this. So big news broke, right? For a number of years, their interest rate was in the negatives. You see that? Big news, it's no longer in the negatives. It's now at zero.
Wow.
What would the US look like if our bank interest rates were at zero? Just think about that for a moment. So obviously this piqued my analytical mind, and I'm like, wait a minute, what is this, right? And so I was like, tell me about these stats. And then it says here, image displayed. You guys can read that. I'm not going to read all of it from 2006, 2004. It is analyzing the data based on a screenshot, people, on a screenshot. And it's saying the rate was 0.0 in 2006. That was an increase, 0.5, 0.5% in 2000. I'm seeing all this data, right? And it's, I don't know, it's analyzing my battery icon. You see that? I realized that. I should have cropped it. But it says, okay, so I had this question. Maybe you guys are thinking this too in your minds, and you're like, wait a minute, how do they keep it so low? How do they keep the bank interest rate so low? Okay, so I'm going in here. Maybe you guys knew the answer already. I didn't. But it goes on and it says, hey, Bank of Japan, this is what they're doing. Open market operations, negative interest rates, quantitative easing, blah, blah, blah. Control of the yield curve. You guys can see that. Their methods are to combat deflation. So we're facing inflation, right? But they're trying to like spurn on inflation here. And little did I know that that was a thing, right? Great to be in Japan. If you're going to buy a house or buy things using the bank rate, great. But they're at 0% is to try to actually combat deflation, which has been an issue in their economy. But again, based upon one screenshot, I didn't need it to analyze my battery and my wireless, all that stuff, but like it was able to kind of go in and just analyze this for you real quick and like really draw out some rich insights. So I pause here for questions. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to check the chat here real quick. Any questions on this? Is there anybody trying this right now on GPT-4 that you guys want to talk about?
Can I interrupt a second?
Yeah.
When you say a screenshot of a chart and you showed the kind that you use, but what if it was a different kind of a chart, like a pie chart, a flow chart, an org chart? Does it analyze different types of charts?
It does. It really does.
I'm
Yes.
so excited.
Yes, check this one out. Look at this. I did a line chart. This is a line chart it's analyzing now. And so just to give you all context, I came across this population in the United States of America. Did you guys know this? Look, it was like 1800s, 1850, kind of low, 1900. Something happened in 1950 into the year 2000 and beyond, where there was dramatic population increase.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys could probably guess like some of the things where it's like, well, what happened? Actually, I've seen this graph and even beyond 1800, and it's like it's flatlined. Population growth in US is like it didn't grow. But something happened in 1950. So I was like, okay, man, data and analytics, but please unpack this. And guys, I tried this with regular Chat GPT and it gave me more generic results. This thing has a brain in it. where their engineers got together and they said, no, we need this more focused on how a data engineer would look at things and interpret things. So look at this. It says, hey, bro. It didn't say, hey, bro. I could tell it to talk to me that way, but I didn't. It says this line is graph. This is a line graph title. See how it said that? It's a line graph. It identified what it was. Imagine it would say pie graph. This is a pie graph or whatever. But it says populated in the United States of America. The x-axis represents the years spanning approximately 1800 to just beyond the year 2000. So see, it's reading it, right? On the line graph, it starts near the origin, blah, 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 around 1800. Look at this. It saw the same thing we just saw. The steepest increase appears to occur between 1950 and 2000. Huh. Go figure, you're smart. Good old data and analytics bot. And look at this. It says the population growth accelerates significantly, reaching close to 300 million. Overall, the graph illustrates substantial population growth in the United States over a 200-year period, with the most rapid growth happening in the latter part of the 20th century. So I'm going to open up for comments. I want you guys to guess. What do you think happened in 1950? Just throw out stuff. There's no wrong answer, unless you say something like Legos were invented. Like, what do you think happened in between 1950 and 2000 that caused a significant increase in the population? I'm good with awkward silences too,
I
so
was gonna go with what Debbie had, which is baby boomers.
let's see. Okay, look, I'm looking in chat here now. Yeah, Andrew says it's impressive. Yeah, isn't that cool? All right. Yeah, baby boomers. Okay, all right. Look what it says. I agree with you guys. It says it coincided with numerous technological advances, go figure, that both contributed and were facilitated by this population growth. Here are some key technological advances that were categorized by the century. I didn't even ask you to do that. Did you guys see that in the prompt?
Nope.
I didn't ask you to do that. I just said, please unpack this and tell me why it happened. That's all I said. I didn't have to do prompt engineering here. Okay. So look, hey, this will happen in the 19th century, steam power, telegraph, internal combustion engine, electricity, photography, and the sewing machine. Who knew that the sewing machine would be that important? But these were very important things, right? Ice engines, gas powered, telegraph, steam power, electricity, photography. 20th century, you guys tell me what you think were technological advances in the 20th century before I scroll down. Drop it in the chat. What do you guys think happened after the 19th century to just kind of like increase? What do you think happened? 20th century. Yep. Medicine, science, lifespan started to increase. All right, and the survey says, let's go down, 20th century. Look at this, automobiles. Yep, penicillin, cars. Look at this, computers, airplanes, space exploration, nuclear technology, medical advances. Look at this, I'm going to highlight this. Discovery of antibiotics, vaccination programs, advances in medical technology significantly increased life expectancy. Information technology, mobile phones, biotech, consumer electronics. So certain technological inventions like mobile phones bringing people together, right? Isn't that something? Look at this, the World Wide Web. Take a guess at what year the World Wide Web became a thing. Take a guess.
Was it 60s?
Don't Google it. You guys are chat GPTing it, aren't you?
Was it 60s? Late 60s?
All right. Okay. Pretty close. Fascinating study. If you ever it really took off in 2000. It really, really took off in 2000.
Yeah.
But there was the government had a World Wide Web in the military before it launched out. If you want to geek out on that, you can. ChatGPT can help you, but invented, yes, yeah, right, Andrew? Andrew probably already knows what I'm talking about. We won't go much further there. That's for another workshop for another day. But you guys see that like this brought people together, right? Space exploration, right? The moon landing was big. It brought kind of like a concerted purpose, gave people hope, medical advances. So look at what it says. Each of these technological events contributed to increases in productivity, changes in social structures, improvements in quality of life, population growth, both directly by improving healthcare and indirectly by enhancing the capacity to support larger populations through advancements in agriculture, transportation, and communication. Nobody said advances in agriculture. Well, guess what? I didn't either. But there were advances in agriculture that helped like produce food for the masses. Now, whether you agree on GMOs or not, right? Organic, non-organic, whatever, like the food supply was a very important invention that kind of helped lead to the increase in population. So I just want you guys to see that ChatGPT basically looked at, from the data and analytics bot, looked at different components and showed you different sides of the coin, different perspectives to help you get like essentially come up with a more well-rounded response to it. Because I wasn't thinking agriculture. I didn't think about the sewing machine. I didn't think about things that made life easier, which kind of directly and indirectly help with the population increase. So if you guys thought all this, put it in the chat. And you're like, psh, this was not new news to me. Going once, going twice. Okay, so we're all surprised at this and hopefully impressed. All right, cool. So that's data and analytics. Any questions? I pause for questions before we go on to the next one here.
I'm wondering a little bit about like they were able to go to historical data and
Mhm.
provide all this really rich information, which is great. I'm thinking a little different application where I would put, I'm going to just give you my use case here,
Yeah.
a chart that shows like a user journey or a client journey on a website, and then ask this bot to say, you know, does this look like it's structured to be efficient, or like what kind of outcomes could you predict based on the structure of this website, that sort of thing. That might be a little out there.
Maybe, but I would, here's the thing with this tech, I would test it to its limits. I would try to break it. And you know, I'm an agile team lead. I used it for project management. So like I like even like I'll say I'll give it a title and a brief description of what I want in a user story in agile, and it'll help me craft one with acceptance criteria. And you can do the same thing with personas, user journeys, like test it, break it, you know. Like I don't think it's gonna work against you. It hasn't worked against me. Like it's only like sharpened the way I do things in my world. And so it can in yours. And so I'm gonna show one more here. Where was it? I'm gonna show you another bot, but before we do that, I just want to ask the audience here, have you guys had a chance to kind of try this out on your end? What are you seeing? Any questions on this so far?
Yeah, I had some comments. I've just not had a use case for it yet, but I've had comments from other people I've worked with who have been dropping kind of like what Debbie was just saying, but taking large data from whether it's spreadsheets of data over multiple years. And the biggest thing that I've seen is that it really can, Debbie, take a lot of data It's really, and at this point, it can take, a tremendous amount. So you typically won't give it too much, and it will let you know if you hit those limits. But um,
Mhm.
especially if you're on some of the premium plans. And so I definitely would say, pass it some, export some of that data, whether it's like website data, like you say, and like especially with like user journeys, maybe click funnel flows,
Mhm.
anything like that that you want to maybe have it look at a lot of data over a long period of time and kind of go, what am I not seeing? And what is some data, what are some highlights that you see some opportunities to maybe turn conversion rate around or some type of click funnel rate, or where is the, where are areas where there's still a significant amount of traffic data that I want to, that's not converting well, that, digging through some of the analytics programs is very, you got to have to kind of dig and find those kind of nuggets of information where it'll just look at all this in a very, very quick and just, it's kind of like it's able to zoom out and pull in all this data around it and then come back to you very quickly with an analysis. You kind of
Yeah.
have to ask it the right question, but you can sometimes say, what are some things that you can show me? Or what's some interesting data that you see? What are opportunities that you see based on me trying to get to this goal? So you don't have to be exact with it. Sometimes you can be surprised with the
Yeah.
output that comes out, and you just have to kind of work with it. So that's my feedback at this point. Again, I've not done some of those myself, but I've seen the data used from other people who've been running it. And
So,
it's
so far, yeah, I've been showing like drop a screenshot, tell me about it. But you can ask it to visualize for you. And you can just say, hey, why don't you craft a user journey path for me?
Mhm.
And going to Nate's point, it's this whole idea of like, hey, here's kind of my use case, right? Here's the user journey, here's the pictures. Ask it, what am I missing? What am I missing? And
And
then
one of
let
the
it
things
kind of
I think that maybe I don't know, some of the things that you do day to day, but I know that, if we fast forward, 12 to 24 months, I mean, it's going to be drastically different, but
Mhm.
really doing some of this early on, getting more familiar with how to ask these technologies, they're going to be more built in concrete, like in GA4 or in like maybe it's admin tools in an e-commerce site like Shopify or something. These things will start to get integrated, but you're still going to have to kind of like ask it questions. Otherwise, it's going to be constantly relying on somebody else at a company kind of going, what are things that we can just make a button that they can press to kind of give them this data? But if you're able to really do this early on and think through like a little bit deeper questions, the biggest areas I see in AI where it's it's like crippling it when you have services where it wraps around like default questions that you can ask it. If giving us the freedom where it's open-ended like GPT is today, to where we can really like feed it our thought of like what the goal you're trying to get to and just typing it out in a full sentence like you're talking to someone, it can take that information and give you back what you want. So, one of the things I like is the example that he showed where you're talking to the phone. And I showed this in a couple of the earlier sessions that I've done in video, where I'll double click, the audio version of you recording my voice into text into the prompt so that I'm talking to it. Because a lot of times, Debbie, I find that if I just talk to it like I'm talking to another person, I just it's a little freer in the way I have that conversation versus feeling like I need to be technical. And I just kind of like say, this is what I'm trying to do. And I just say all this in a long paragraph, and then I just send it. And I just let it kind of take what I'm trying to do and kind of give me output back. So sorry to blab a little bit, Rafael. I know this is your show today, but uh,
no.
it's exciting stuff of what you're showing. And there's so many different ways that everyone's going to use it. So
Yeah. So Debbie, this is where I try to break it because I'm like, I'm gonna give it a more robust chart. Those other ones were easy, right? So let me see how maybe I can just break it here. This one has it's color coded, it's got years, and it's not like like approximate. I mean, They're not like whole number of years. It's percent, like 3 point something, right? With the decimal. So it's like, I'm gonna break this thing. I'm gonna try. This is another like bold claim on X that I found where somebody was like, it was one of these like financial gurus on X saying, man, if you do this with compound interest and you save this certain amount in so many years, you're gonna become a millionaire. I'm like, okay, unpack this. Let's see if how smart this thing. I said, what is this? Two question marks. Like, fingers crossed I didn't blow up its brain or something. But here's what it says. It said, hey, this image appears to be, again, a screenshot, people, a screenshot. This image appears to be an informational graphic or a meme related to personal finance. All right. And so it kind of like gives you the title, and it says this. The graph is showing a progression if you're investing 10,000 a year annually at a 7% annual rate of return. The graph depicts the time that it will take for you to kind of get there, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how realistic is this? Right? 7% return. I get it. Okay, that sounds bold. All right. It says, well, this graphic represents a simplified model of investment growth using compound interest. And the concept is realistic in demonstrating how consistent investing and the power of compound interest can lead to significant wealth. And so here are some factors to consider, like reinvestment, taxes and fees, inflation, risk tolerance, all these things, right? So a lot of stuff. And so while it's saying, yeah, it's realistic, it's also kind of saying, well, but there are some things to consider, and this may not be fully realistic, right? So, but it did a good job. And so there's the data and analytics. I would say use it. The other one I want to kind of introduce you to is the real estate one. Have you guys seen this?
Uh-uh.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, my wife and I are kind of looking at like maybe potential vacation home properties in coastal North Carolina. And it was late last night. And I'm not about to call a real estate agent after hours to get like the area vibes, right? Like what, is there crime there? Like what's there, right? So this is a real estate agent. And remember, data and analytics is not just about geeky stuff. Hey, read my chart, visualize my data, but it's insights, right? So you can actually use this real estate agent to basically get area vibes. It mimics like, hey, you're calling a real estate agent at 10 at night, 10:30, and I want to learn about the specific area, right? So like here, I'm gonna just kind of show you this so it doesn't load. We don't have to wait on the load, but
And
this is my
when I
conversation.
searched for real estate agent, I saw a few different ones. Is there a reason I just wanted to ask, is there a reason you like this one more than the others?
Well, I saw how many were using this one over the
Okay.
others.
Okay.
This is the most popular one for good reason. You're gonna see here in a minute. All right. Oh, Mr. Real Estate Agent, tell me about North Carolina coastal areas. Which are considered great and which are not. Please rank them from least to greatest. All right, here they go. Look at this. Matter of seconds. Last night, 10:30 Mountain Time. This bot was spitting out information, ranking North Carolina coastal areas in order of quality of life, violence, violent crimes. I didn't have to pick up a phone and call, right? It's actually giving me insights on the fly. I said, okay, let me just recap. Which one has the lowest crime rate and highest quality of living? Look at that. Spits this out. For safety, consider Apex, Wake Forest. I know I'm going fast, but I'm just trying to be mindful of time. But I'm having this conversation. Hey, check out Southport and Beaufort. Because these seem like they're pretty good. They're pretty charming, good quality of life, low crime rates, yada, yada. What about Hampstead? I came across that one in my search, and there it goes. Gives me Hampstead, North Carolina, but it's using the context from before. Hey, I remember you wanted low crime, a good quality of life. right? So it's still kind of keeping the conversation going based upon that. And well, unfortunately, it gets a degrade for overall crime. So moving on from Hampstead, I'm not gonna obviously buy property there. All right, so what is there to do there? Let's just keep the conversation going. They have all these things. Wilmington is 30 to 45 minutes away, Myrtle Beach, blah, blah, blah. Can you show me current pictures of Wilmington? Well, that's where it just kind of showed me this.
Did it make an image?
It made an image. So it's like, no, I don't need that. I need actual pictures from the web. Couldn't do that. It's fine. I don't care. I can Google search that. Is house insurance higher in these areas? It says yes, and here's why: wind damage, flooding, storm. But I just want you guys to see that you can glean insights, even real estate insights. If you're on the market and you're shopping and you're looking for areas, you don't necessarily have to call a live person. You can. I still would recommend that. But you can actually have a conversation and almost have native level insight into whatever city or town you're looking at buying investment property at. I pause here for questions. Real
Not-
estate.
Yeah,
Yep.
not so much a question, but um, I, this is very exciting to see this, but it almost makes you forget that you need to stop and check to make
Yeah.
sure.
No, for
And
sure.
so, but you
Yeah.
know, like what you said, you still want to call the realtor, and now you know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Right.
If at the end of the day you're more equipped to ask better questions, that can only serve you well. All right. It serves
And that
all
could
of
be a
us
thing that
well.
you even say is like, give me a list of questions I should be asking the
Yep.
state agent for this area. And it's
Mhm.
just things that you're not thinking about. So those are great examples. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
So yeah, so this is a very useful, very practical one. I would encourage you to use it. And then there's one more here I wanted to show before we open it up to questions and Q&A. Um, Canva. If you haven't seen this one yet, I actually use this one. Um, if you ever wondered, look how many people are using this one, 1 million plus.
Mhm.
And you're like, I need visualization now. I need a GPT that can create PowerPoint slides for me, right? Go to Canva. You can start the chat. And then, I mean, we can use one of these, but I've like, so you can do an Instagram post, you can do a poster. But I'm open to ideas. What do you guys want to create? We'll create it together here. You can throw it in the chat or you can just jump in here.
Now let's create an ad for Meta. And what are we selling?
All right, let's see. Please create an ad for Meta.
And we need to sell
Bonbons.
what are we selling? We're selling I don't know, dry erasers.
Dry erasers.
And we need a with a CTA, the call to action.
Let's see if it can do that. All right, let's do it. Now, this is my first time creating an ad. I've always created PowerPoint slides. So
Oh,
if
okay.
we break it, then that's great. You know, it's better to try and break. Let's see what it can do. All right, Canva, don't let us down. Something's happening. Something's cooking in the oven here. It's communicating to Canva. Oh, here we go. Ooh, it's doing it fast. I'm sorry, man. This is funny. I'm sorry. Hold on a second.
Stubborn marks.
Look at what it did in a matter of seconds. It says, get yours today.
Yeah,
An experience,
there's
a
our call to
smoother
action.
whiteboard experience.
All right,
So
it's not gonna win any awards, but it at least did it.
it did it. All right. Anybody else want to try to break this thing? Let's do it. We have a few minutes. Have fun here. What do you want to do? slides and add. Let's test it to its limits. Here's-
Why don't we do a throwback and do a newspaper ad?
Ooh, oh man, now you're gonna break it.
What do we? Oh, we're selling a 1980s car. What kind of car are we selling?
What if we did a Pinto? We're selling
There
a
we go.
Pinto,
All right, let's do it.
a brown
It runs good.
that runs good.
Barely used.
All right,
Correct.
now we're if
Hang
this
on,
doesn't
hang on.
Go
Correct
ahead.
that from pint to Pinto.
work.
So
That's
they know what
right.
you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
they
be.
should know it's AI, right?
Oh, I
Right.
guess you're right.
I don't know if it would figure that one out.
All right. Should I say car? Let's see if it'll infer it. Let's see if it'll infer that it's the Pinto car.
I think you'll
All right,
figure.
here we go. We're having fun here. If we blow this up, I'm blaming it on you guys. No, I'm playing.
It.
Knows me. Here we go. Woo! Starting it. Will it break?
So it looks like it's using a plugin that's
Yeah.
working with Canva for some extra data, and then using
Oh,
Dolly.
oh, we have two options.
Oh, interesting.
Bonus.
That's neat.
Oh, look, it's saying pinto beans.
Just say no. I meant the car.
Ah, period.
I want to know what a barely used brown Pinto bean is.
That's a great. That's a fantastic. That's a great deal.
AI conference, the up AI. All right, it's doing it again. Let's see what it does here. Man, you guys are great sports. This is fun. All right. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, still not quite right. Uh, Pinto car, not beans. All right, so it's having trouble.
Hmm.
It even said, "Hey, I updated designs with your clarification in mind, focusing on a brown Pinto car." So we kind of messed it up,
Yeah.
but it's not there yet quite. But it's coming along. So if you're just gonna have more basic, like, or kind of maybe a little bit more intermediate than basic prompts, you can create some really cool slides and
I
some
think
really neat things.
I think the important thing in these examples to mention is the depth in the example that we gave are not thought through, and not reality of like the details that you would have. Like if we really had a car, we'd have the date, we'd have how much mileage it has, probably the
Yeah.
amount of money we would have. And so giving it more information, it would be able to articulate the um, what we're trying to do a lot better. And so the more I find that time and time again, keep being more elaborate with the details versus I call it the roulette of just rolling the dice and seeing what it's going to come back to. I think it really starts to put it into a much more powerful output.
Yeah, and so this is one where I was like, hey, just create me a slide deck for the latest improvements in AI. When you actually click in there, there'll be other slides with points. And it's going to use information as current as it can to be able to bring in some of these enhancements, right? Like the AI washing and some of the other things, Gemini and Apple. And so
Mhm.
I know we have a few minutes left. I want to be mindful and respectful of everyone's time. Does anybody have any comments or questions as we kind of land the plane here?
If I could speak up one more time, I love Canva. And the AI infused version of Canva, I've got a pro account. And I've found it very difficult to query the AI within Canva itself. This is way more practical using this GPT. But now I'm wondering if what this GPT gives me, is that something that I can import into my Canva account and apply some of my pro features to? Or can I do any manipulation, or should I just use this for ideation?
So you can, when you click in there, it'll take you to your Canva account.
Oh,
It'll
all
be a
right.
presentation,
Mhm.
and then you can go in there and modify it. So it opens up a web page. It won't open it within here. It'll say once you pick of the two options, it'll take you to your Canva account, your Canva Pro, and then you can go in there and pretty it up. You can see the other slides. It's all going to be in your web-based kind of Canva account.
That's a great
Okay.
question.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's a
cool.
great question. Awesome. Well, Rafael, thanks so much today. That's some great content and kind of seeing, just I like the very casual use cases of just, sending it some very screenshots from the phone, looking at data, seeing something that's on the internet and kind of going like kind of truth checking it a little bit where there's data being shared and then feeding it into here. Those were great examples to see. One of the things I wanted to mention up next is, next week, I'm going to be showing some Midjourney. So I'll be walking through a little bit of that. I'll also show some ChatGPT, DALL-E 3 image making, and I'll show a little bit of the difference why I lean more towards Midjourney versus a ChatGPT. But those of you who might not be as strong with Midjourney may prefer to kind of do the output. So I'm going to show the output from both. But really using like high quality stock level imagery and showing where to take an example and build it. So excited about that. Carlos, I think, is going to do April 5th, and kind of he's got some pieces that he wants to show with branding and prepping presentations using Pi, which is really cool what he's doing with that now. And then we got another guest speaker coming up, Abby, on the 12th. I'm working with him right now on some of the topics that he's going to cover. He's already doing a ton with AI professionally, and so I'm super excited to bring him to stage and let him show off kind of like what he's doing day to day. I'm going to send out this a link to this survey, and I definitely want to give a chance for everybody to fill that out. But while we're doing that, I'll put that in the chat. And if you could just fill that out and let me know any kind of feedback you have from today's meeting. But is there any other questions from that we didn't cover, or questions that you guys have for future topics that you want to talk about in the last couple minutes?
I will give that some thought because my mind right now is just going like this.
No problem. No problem. Well, I'll let you guys go. We're right here at two o'clock Eastern time, so we want to try to keep this to an hour and be respectful of everybody's time. But this will be recorded and sent back out. And so, thank you guys for joining. If there's any other information you need, reach out. Feel free to reach out to us. And hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Really appreciate it.